Greetings and salutations. Welcome to the who's and what's of Steph Q's inspiration. When first approached for this assignment, I wanted to run like the wind, away. I said, "You want me to do what? In front of who? Standing? Wow." Well, I gave this subject meaningful thought, a lot of memory work. So, Steph, put your big girl panties on and get her done. To me, thinking about giving credit to people that have inspired me along my road in life is like accepting an Academy Award. Like, who should I thank first? And not forget to mention anyone. My close friends would probably tell you that most of my inspiration came from a combo of Mae West, Gypsy Rose Lee, and Gloria Steinem. Just kidding, not all yet. Well, to give you a quick scenario of my start in life, I'm the oldest of 7 children, 6 girls, 1 boy. My parents were World War II vets. I'm not going to use the term born because I was always told some crow shit me on the fence and the sun hatched me. So, any old crow could be my mother. On a serious note, I lived with my dear, sweet, evangelical, Republican maternal grandmother. Her name was Marie Crocker, not to be confused with Betty Crocker, the cake mix guru, but Pop had fun telling everybody that Betty was a sister. Graham, everything good I ever learned was from Graham. She took me to church, what seemed like all the time, but I loved her. Sorry, Graham, it didn't hold up to your standards. She taught me to cook, bake, clean, and iron. She gave up on crocheting and piano lessons. She always used to tell me, be nice to old people, because someday you're going to be old. Sorry, Graham, not me. Every time I'd get down and out or complain, she'd look at me and she'd say, "Stephanie Dickerson," that was my maiden name, Dickerson, "you think you have it so bad? Look over your left shoulder. There's always somebody who has it worse." You know, I use that as my mantra every day. I think about that. I carry that with me. Well, we lived in a small town called Clarendon, PA. There were many Italian and Polish-speaking families in the area. I heard like they're from the old sod. My best friend's Graham couldn't speak English. She was embarrassed. I thought, why? Why should she be embarrassed? My grandparents could only speak English. I wanted this lady to be my grandmother, so I would go to her house and try to communicate. She had a warm smile, great hugs, and she smelled like garlic. I dearly love garlic. Somehow we got along. She would give me the store list. I would walk to the little store. The brothers that owned the store, they were Italian, so they were from Italy, so I guess I got the right stuff. I loved my Italian grandmother. I got invited to her house, their celebrations, their baptism, none of which our family had. I loved it all. My mother crow must be Italian. I knew their religious holidays, but I did not like going to church. Too much kneeling, service too long, you get it. I even learned some words. Good, nice and bad too. I knew I was Italian. I was impressed with her courage. She came to a new world, she couldn't speak English, and she was just so nice. Can you imagine the surprise when I was told, "I'm not Italian, I am German and Irish"? I said, "What? I want to be part of a fun family." Hence, start of my partying, you think? Well, when I was 9 years old, I felt like I was pulled from the womb because my father got a job in Buffalo at Republic Steel. They made me go. I wanted to stay. Another shock to my happy Italian life. And of 2 grandmothers every day. Well, moving to New York State to me was a big shock. First, a one-room schoolhouse with 4 grades. I was used to 2 grades in one room. There were farms, great vineyards, all over the place. I was only 9. Well, when I was 10 years old, we moved to a farm. It was like when you rent with a bunch of kids, you work on the farm. Our neighbor had cows. My father thought it was time to teach us to milk, hay, and shovel dung. I thought, really? The old farmer was a weird-looking guy, sparse teeth, thinning hair, but what a storyteller. He also had a nickname of Snowball. The reason for that is he predicted the weather. He was a local legend, and TV and radio personnel would consult him on the weather, and it was said that he was more accurate than the Farmer's Almanac. He also had a sidekick, a large tom turkey. His name was Ken. This turkey was big. He and Snowball would communicate. Ken looked like he and Snowball had a conversation. Ken was also the foreman on the farm. He looked like he would watch us work. Ken also had a place in the house. No coop for that boy. He was kind of neat. One thing I never understood was Snowball talked with a southern accent. But he was born and raised on the very farm that he owned. I worked in the fields with all kind of folks. Puerto Ricans used to come and work the farms in the summer, go back to Puerto Rico in the fall. This was the 60s, before Puerto Rico was a U.S. territory. Still don't know Spanish. Farming's hard work. I knew when I graduated, if I did, I was hitting the road. I hoped I never had to see another grape. Boy, did that change. From the time I was around 5 years old, I wanted to be a nurse. I don't know why, but I guess because I started my career early. When I played the neighborhood doctor, I gave a lot of physicals. I did graduate lucky between farm chores and housework, but I was told I was not college material. Besides, I was always told I had a peanut shuck between my ears. Oh well. The military, because I was considered a badass, which I thought I was outspoken, and well, how could I be a badass? So military was the best option. Hey, education and travel sounds good to me. My recruiting officer made it sound even better. The Vietnam War was already going on. They needed me. So, October 28, 1964, 6 days after my 18th birthday, I was inducted in the Women's Army Corps. And shortly thereafter, was on my way to where? Anniston, Alabama. Then, hopefully, Fort Sam Houston, Texas, for corpsman training. I don't think I was even scared. I just wanted to get away. Basic training was what it was. I still don't know my right from my left. In our barracks, we had girls from all over the United States. It was really great hearing about their homes, especially from Alaska and Hawaii. One big incident that's burned in my memory goes like this. We were able to have a 3-day pass to go into town. Great, sounds like fun. Then we were told this shocking statement. If we had black friends in the barracks, we could not walk with them in town. I go, what? Did I just hear what the sergeant said? No, she just didn't say that. I flew in with my 2 friends. We flew in for basic, just like me. We ended up in the platoon together. And now this? The sergeant must have seen a defiant look on my face because she said it would make it worse on them. We're military. We're representing the United States. They have to walk on the opposite side of the street from me? I was beyond mad. My daughter interjects. She said, I'm really surprised you didn't run your mouth. But I made up my mind this would be the first and last time this would ever happen. This was the 60s. This was the Deep South. But I don't get it. When we came back to the barracks, I was most apologetic to my two friends, and they thanked me but understood. I will never forget that. Here we go. Graduation from basic training. I found out no Fort Sam for me. School filled up. On-the-job training. Oh, with a promise of applying 1 year past duty station. I thought I should run. But where? Back to picking grapes? No. I will take one for the team. Deal. So, my duty station was Kenner Army Hospital in Fort Lee, Virginia. After 2 weeks of hands-on training by the chief nurse, she was a full-bird colonel and her assistant, a major general. That was impressive. They let us loose. There were 4 girls altogether, because we had worked on each other. The first day on my unit, my first job, was to learn how to care for a dead body. After we took care of that, I got a grand tour of the morgue. The closest I had been to a dead body was a funeral, and that wasn't that close. The aides that instructed me had done this a few times, or they acted well. In the 60s at Kenner, the women cared only for the women, and the male tech took care of the males. That quickly changed when most of our guys were sent to Nam. I had great role models in civilian personnel. 2 nurses' aides I dearly loved, Mrs. Thomas and Mrs. Cargill. Yes, and they were black. We were all equal at our hospital. We were all one. Mrs. Thomas was the quiet, serious one, and Mrs. Cargill was the funny, goofy one. They knew that I just want to thank them for their kindness, expertise, and patience. Besides, they were a lot of fun. They cooked really good too. Introduced me to collard greens, real fried chicken, and sweet potato pie. Yum. We had designated days for certain surgeries. Wednesday was designated GYN day. That's women's surgeries. I learned how to take care of female issues. Thursday was TNA day. Lots of kids. Plus, during the other days of the week, we had surgeries and other medical issues as well. One civilian RN I became close to, her name was Miss Krikorian. She ran a really tight ship. Her Greek heritage made her handle things very well. She took me under her wing, instructed me on medications, wound care, things like that, because of course, I didn't go to school, learned everything. She even let me pass her meds occasionally. We became close friends. She was a good cook too. I will be forever grateful for these mentors, for my patients, my families that I've met along the way. I became friendly with the sergeant of the motor pool, mainly ambulances. I had met him while caring for his wife after she had suffered from a miscarriage. As a result of being close friends, I got the call to ride the ambulances to Walter Reed Army Hospital in DC. Back in the day, it was called chaperoning, if you rode with a female patient. Fred was very interesting. He was born in Germany. At 6 years of age, at 12 midnight, the Nazis came in and took his father. He never saw his father after that. His mother and he had awful time. He finally came to the States, but he had stories to tell. Besides, he brewed his own beer, so hey. Okay, move up to 1 year past my duty station. School filled up. Didn't qualify to go to Nam, no school. Well, I'll apply to go to Germany. I had friends going to Germany. No go, didn't have school. Oh, Well, when I found out I was on orders for Alaska, I decided I would go back home and get married to an old boyfriend. Back in the 60s, you couldn't be either pregnant or be married when you were in the Women's Army Corps. So I felt like they screwed me, so tit for tat. Back home, married, 2 kids came fairly quickly. Landed a job at a local hospital, which was in Irving, New York, which was located on Lake Erie, close to the New York State Thruway. We received all kinds of situations. I worked the night shift because my kids were small. Childcare was difficult. The hospital only had on-call doctors. The RNs functioned as doctors, the LPNs functioned as RNs, and the aides, we worked as LPNs. I had great mentors. I worked labor and delivery. The RN and I have delivered babies before the doctor got there, and that wasn't in the days when the dads could be in. And then I got calls to the ER for trauma. I preferred the blood and guts. I was a willing learner. I loved it all. My nurses encouraged me to go back to go to school. The year my youngest daughter started school, I applied to LPN school. Got in on the very last day. So that was the start of my professional journey. After I graduated, then I started on my RN journey. Unexpected turn. My ex-husband's job, Bethlehem Steel, brought us to Central PA in 1981. I kept working on my RN, 1 course or 2, while working full-time and raising a family. I eventually got my RN with encouragement from my children, my friends, and my coworkers. My children have always been and will always be an inspiration to me. They are creative, humorous, and also sick and demented. Just like me. I take great pride in that. Without all the support, encouragement from my peers, I would not be the nurse I am today. While working on my bachelor's, I had 2 college-educated children, so why not make them help me? They owe me, you know. I drew strength from my many patients and families that I've had the privilege of caring for over all these years. To the many people I have smiled at, said hello to, only to hear their life story. Some good, some bad, all interesting. I thank you. To my UCH community, which I found while taking a course on world religions. When I read the bio, I knew it was for me. 3 women who I first met and formed a friendship I would like to mention because these ladies are in the spirit world. First off, Kay Cox. When I first saw Kay walk in, when I sat there the first day, she had this huge purse. I'm a purse woman. So she walked away from her purse and I kept an eye on it, and when she came back, we struck up a conversation. She was feisty, she was a lot of fun, and I loved her dearly. Maureen Callahan. I met her in Coffee Line. She was friendly and fun, and she gave me some information on UCH. She was telling me different things that were going on, and she said, this is a good place to be. Sandy Eckert. I love Sandy Eckert. Her humor, her stories, her bravery against all, and such good knowledge of the goddess. These ladies are the reason I'm here today, one of the reasons I'm here today. My peeps, I call them. I love their creativity and their friendship. Thank you. Maya Angelou, thank you for your stories, your courage, your poetry, your beautiful voice, your knowledge, your love of all peoples. The first time I had the opportunity to see Maya in person. I was mesmerized. The stage was set. It was the Strand Capitol in New York. There was one small light. Then you hear this voice singing Cage Bird. Then all of a sudden she appears. She's larger in life with a beautiful full-length baby blue dress on. She's a tall lady, 6 foot to be exact. She was amazing. I will follow her anywhere. My daughter and I had another opportunity to see her in Harrisburg at the Forum. She was amazing. My daughter, an English major, was more than impressed. My daughter, Kelly, she bought me several of Maya's books. My favorite poem by Maya is Phenomenal Woman. It has so much to say, so much power. Thank you. In closing, I'm going to give you 2 of my favorite sayings. Just found out the other day, because a friend Googled it, that one of my favorite sayings comes from Ecclesiastes in the Bible. Can you imagine me reciting from the Bible? Eat, drink, and be merry, for tomorrow. My favorite one is, life is not a dress rehearsal. No do-overs. Kate Hepburn. And then from a book titled by Maya Angelou, Won't Take Nothing for My Journey Now. Thank you.